Well, the knives are coming out from every direction in South Africa. Justice Minister Thembi Simlane is facing calls for her removal due to a loan she received from a VBS fixer. But she maintains there's no conflict of interest and refuses to step down.
Welcome back once again. This is Chris Report, and he assured me that since Simon's down in Boulders. Folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa.
On Friday last week, she appeared before the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Constitutional Development to clear up questions about a loan she had received from a VBS fixer. VBS is the Venda bank. Now, Simlane insisted she had nothing to hide and there was not a conflict of interest related to her role as the minister overseeing the National Prosecuting Authority. Now, is there sufficient reason to doubt her? Several members of Parliament remained unconvinced of her innocence. After the meeting, MPs from the ANC's Government of National Unity, partners like the DA's Glenys Breitenbach and the Freedom Front Plus's Heloise Denner called on Simlane to step aside. Okay, so the DA and the Freedom Front Plus, not much of a surprise there. Let's continue. While Action SA parliamentary leader Athol Trollip expressed his frustration that the meeting on Friday was nothing of substance, basically a talk shop, on Monday he called for Simlane to be suspended and an independent inquiry to be launched. Ouch. Suspended? Isn't that a bit harsh? Given that the minister has shown no intention of stepping down until her name has been cleared and the cloud over her role as Minister of Justice has been removed, Action SA has written to the Speaker and Chairperson requesting that an investigation be instituted and that they refer the matter to the President urgently so that the minister may be suspended pending the conclusion of all investigations. Now, why should someone step down when they're accused? How often are politically motivated attacks designed to do exactly that, orchestrate the removal of political opponents? Ask yourself that question. Now, for her part, Simlane maintains that as Justice Minister, she has no say in who the National Prosecuting Authority decides to prosecute. Well, is that true? On the surface, it would appear to be the case. However, the National Prosecuting Authority is accountable to Parliament. However, final responsibility over it lies with the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, which would be Thembi Simlane. The National Director of Public Prosecutions is appointed by the President, not the Justice Minister. However, Section 179, Paragraph 5 of the Constitution, the National Prosecutor determines, with concurrence of the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, prosecution policy and issues policy directives, which must be observed by all prosecutors. Now, does that mean she decides who gets prosecuted? Well, it sounds like certainly she has influence at a minimum. So can she be neutral when it comes to determining if a case would be filed against her? That's a fair question. I don't think it's fair to call for me to step down when my responsibilities are not anyway going to hinder any of the progress that is supposed to be made to get the money and the benefits of the people who've been invested in the Venda Building Society Bank. That's what she told ENCA's Heidi Gilkus during an interview on Sunday. But that's not the issue. This is deflection. The issue isn't recouping the money for the people who've been defrauded in the VBS scandal. The issue is your conflict of interest and getting a loan on favorable terms. Those are the issues. Now, referring to Simlane's position in the cabinet, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula said that it's a prerogative of the president to deal with that, whether or not this minister is fit. Actually, no. There's a parliamentary process to deal with it as well. Fikile also said that the ANC received a report from Simlane and that the minister will be subjected to an ANC Integrity Commission. So it is going to go for an internal political party investigation. So, folks, what's this all about? Well, Simlane's been under fire since August 26th of 2024 when News 24 and the Daily Maverick published a joint investigation which revealed that she had used a commercial loan of 575,600 Rand from the Gundo Wealth Solutions Group owned by Raliam Razwinani to buy a coffee shop in Sandton. At the time, Simlane was mayor of Polokwane, a city several hours north of Sandton. Now, that's a municipality that unlawfully invested 349 million Rand in the VBS, and that deal was brokered by Gundo Wealth Solutions. Now, for starters here, why was she buying and running businesses while serving as mayor? That's a serious conflict of interest. She wasn't paid to run coffee shops. She's not a barista. She was paid to run Polokwane as mayor. That should be her job full time. Why weren't her investments set aside and run by a neutral party? Now, second, there's a clear conflict of interest in doing business with a bank, getting favorable terms when the city was banking there, and you're mayor. That is very suspicious and inappropriate. Now, forensic investigations found the VBS paid a kickback worth 24.2 million rand to Razin Wanane for brokering the investments from various municipalities and state entities through an allegedly corrupt transactions and breaches of the Municipal Finance Management Act. So what? Razin Wane's alleged crimes are not her crimes, are they? On Friday morning last week, News 24 and Daily Maverick reported the loan to Simlane was the only one which Gundo provided in 2016. That in itself is strange. And VBS kickbacks were the only funds in that account from which the loan was paid. So News 24 and Daily Maverick contend that her loan came from money that Razin Wane held. Again, his alleged crimes are not hers. Now, according to Simlane, she repaid the loan in 3 installments of 283,333 rand on October 9th, 2020. Again on November 12th, 2020, and 7 January 2021. So the alleged allegation here, folks, is not even that she skipped out on the loan, she paid it back. Are the folks insinuating that she was granted political favors? What exactly are they getting at? Well, I think I know what they're getting at. There was certainly inappropriate conduct on her part when mayor of Polokwane. The question is, why is this just now coming to light? We're talking about events 3 years ago. The next question is, where is this level of attention to the perversion of the course of justice in the Pala Pala cash smuggling incident with Ramaphosa's hands all over the misuse of Presidential Protection Unit? Where's the outrage? Where's the investigation? Where are the news reports? Well, what about the EFF's ties to the Venda Bank with Floyd Shivambu and Julius Malema? Why hasn't Julius Malema been called to step down from Parliament? What we have here, folks, is selective outrage. It sure seems that way anyway. And why? According to Simlane, she was unaware her loan was paid with VBS money, and she took the loan with Gundo because it was too hard to get a loan from commercial banks. Folks, this is where the sympathy for Simlane button gets turned all the way down to zero. After she resorted to race hustling to defend herself, claiming that as a black woman, she could not get a loan from any other bank. Well, which banks refused her loans? She offers nothing to support her race hustling claims. Now, at the same time, the entire episode gets even stranger when one considers the exorbitant usurious 47% interest rate that she had to pay on the loan. The interest that Simlane was charged on her loan, which at more than 200,000 rand, amounted to 47% of the money borrowed. And we're not talking about a home mortgage in which you pay off over 10, 15, 20, or 30 years. You wind up paying more than the actual loan. We're talking about a loan that was only a couple of years in length. She paid 200,000 rand, 47% of the total amount back in interest. How is that even legal? Now, it makes the whole transaction look exceptionally suspicious, said DA MP Glenys Breitenbach. And she's right, it does. Another MP suggested that Gundo was simply a mashonisa, a loan shark. It sure seems that way. Freedom Front Plus Member of Parliament Heloise Denner expressed disbelief, suggesting that you must have known that anyone having dealings with VBS would be tainted. And finally, we get to the nub of the entire story, one that casts considerable doubt on Minister Simlane's credibility and whether or not this is really even a loan. It was also suggested by MPs that the reason Simlane hastily paid back the loan in 4 months, some 4 years later, was because the chickens had finally come home to roost regarding VBS. Indeed, race hustling excuses, strange interest rates, sudden repayment after a lapse in time, and a clear conflict of interest completely undermine her credibility. Perhaps it is time for her to step aside after all. There appears to not only be a lot of smoke here, but also fire emerging from the haze as well. So there you have it, folks. Perhaps it is time for Minister Thembi Simlane to step aside. Whatever the case is, it's just yet another example of alleged ANC corruption at every level, and people commit crimes, or alleged to commit crimes, being promoted from Mayor of Polokwane to a Member of Parliament to a Cabinet Minister. Who does the vetting of these clowns? Seriously. While the media goes batshit bonkers crazy about the appointment of Roman Kabanak to a civil service position vetted by the government of South Africa, but because it's by a DA minister and they call him a right-wing racist, which is criminal injuria, by the way, they lose their minds, and that's all we're talking about. Why aren't we talking about the elevation, the lack of vetting of ANC members of parliament like Dr. William Kesey? Or this clown, Simlane? Or the list goes on and on. The ANC has a culture of corruption which it embraces because it's kleptocracy. Thanks a lot, folks.